The door was unlocked. The table was set for a meal. A chair lay overturned on the floor. The keepers should have been here. 3 men stationed on one of the most isolated islands in the North Atlantic. But the rooms were silent, their beds untouched, their coats missing. Outside, waves hammered the rocks below. A logbook sat open. The final entry described a storm so violent it did not let up. But on the day the rescue crew arrived, the sea was calm, the sky clear. 3 keepers had vanished without a trace, and no one has ever found them. The Flannan Isles sit more than 20 miles off the coast of Scotland, a cluster of barren rocks lashed by relentless Atlantic weather. Island Moor, the largest, hosted a remote lighthouse built to guide ships through treacherous waters. It was a lonely post. 3 keepers rotated their shifts: Thomas Marshall, James Duckett, and Donald MacArthur. Months of isolation, no families, no towns, only wind, waves, and the constant roar of the ocean. Communication was rare. Supply boats arrived only when weather allowed, often weeks late. Until then, the men were on their own. In December 1900, storms battered the region. Ships reported enormous swells and gale-force winds. For days, no one could reach the lighthouse. Then came the first sign that something was wrong. A passing ship noticed the lighthouse lamp was dark, unlit, silent, a warning beacon that failed to warn. The Northern Lighthouse Board dispatched a relief crew, but what they found on Island Moor would become one of the greatest maritime mysteries in history. When the relief vessel Hesperus reached the island, the keepers did not appear at the landing. No flags, no signals, only the wind. Joseph Moore, the relief keeper, climbed the steep staircase carved into the cliff. He described the feeling as unnatural, as if the island itself were holding its breath. He reached the lighthouse. The door was ajar. Inside, the clock had stopped. A meal sat half-eaten. The kitchen was tidy, almost too tidy. Only one thing signaled disturbance: a single overturned chair, as if someone stood up in a hurry. The men's oilskins, heavy weather gear, were missing, but MacArthur's coat remained. His gear never left the lighthouse. Outside, the search expanded. Moore and the crew inspected the western landing, the island's most dangerous side. What they found was unsettling. Ropes normally stored high on a platform were strewn near the water's edge. A supply crate was shattered. A metal railing was ripped from its bolts, twisted like wire. Timbers had been torn loose and thrown dozens of feet. To cause that much destruction, a wave would have needed to be enormous, far larger than typical storms reported that week. The official logbook entries added more confusion. Marshall described severe winds, the likes of which I have never seen. Ducat was unusually quiet and praying, and MacArthur, usually confident, was reportedly crying. But there was a problem. Local weather reports showed no extreme storm during the dates given. Nothing matching the terror described in the logs. Nothing capable of tearing heavy equipment from bedrock. The last entry read simply, "Storm ended. Sea calm. God is over all." After that, silence. The keepers were gone. Theories exploded across Scotland. Some believed rogue waves, massive, unpredictable walls of water, swept all 3 men into the sea. Others argued one keeper fell, and the others rushed to save him, only to be dragged away. But this didn't explain MacArthur's coat still hanging inside. Why would a seasoned keeper run into a storm without it? Another theory, a violent argument. 3 men, months of isolation. Someone snapped, but no blood, no bodies, no weapons. The lighthouse was too orderly, too calm. Some suspected outside interference, a passing ship, or foul play. But the island showed no footprints, no extra rope marks, no signs of struggle. Then came stranger ideas, stories of phantom ships seen near the island, legends of strange lights hovering above the lighthouse, whispers of sea spirits angry at the presence of men. The most persistent theory involved a phenomenon known as freak waves, waves as tall as 100 feet. Sudden, invisible until too late, oceanic monsters capable of smashing stone. If such a wave struck the western landing with no warning, it could have swept all 3 men away instantly. But why were they all at the landing in the first place? Keepers worked in pairs. One always stayed behind. MacArthur's coat suggested he never intended to go outside. The official investigation reached no definitive conclusion, only speculation, only unanswered questions. The lighthouse resumed operation with new keepers. They reported strange sensations, voices in the wind, footsteps in empty rooms. Some claimed the island felt inhabited, but not by the living. Decades passed. Storms came and went. The Flannan Isles Lighthouse eventually became automated in 1971. No one lives there now. Only the wind remains. But the mystery has not faded. A meal left unfinished, a chair on its side. 3 men who walked into a storm that may not have existed. Over a century later, their disappearance still haunts Scotland's maritime history. A puzzle carved into stone and salt. A question left unanswered by time and tide. Some mysteries are solved by evidence. This one endures because of its absence. 3 men vanished from a lighthouse on a silent island. No bodies, no witnesses, no final message. Just an empty tower staring out over the endless sea, waiting for keepers who would never return.